y'all doing? What's up, Issa? Status? E-Dubs? Yup. DC is about to have its own tournament, of power. And I'm going to break down everything that they've revealed to us so far. You're going to get a tenured power scaler's perspective on who, in my opinion, is most likely going to win these matches. What's up? Keep talking. So in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and talk about something that I've already discussed a little bit before, but should still be informative to anyone who hasn't yet seen this. What's up, General Shepard? So this is the wraparound cover, and I talked about this initially, but this image was revealed when the event itself was announced. And I already talked about this, but we have a few new images. No, this is official. So we have a few new images that I'm going to talk about later, but I'm going to break this one down again. This is the full wraparound cover now. Of course, comic book covers lie all the time. I doubt these will all be fights that we see in the comic itself, but nonetheless, we can speculate. So I'm going to start by looking at John Stewart versus Dr. Fate right now. John Stewart, the Green Lantern. John Stewart currently is very powerful. He recently has been empowered by the Source, which might be the most powerful power source in all of DC Comics. But he's empowered by a fraction of that, so to see him go against the Lord of Order would be very interesting. I actually asked the current writer of the Green Lantern, because Kyle Rayner has access to his White Lantern powers once again. And for him, it wasn't, I asked him who would win between John Stewart and Kyle, White Lantern Kyle Rayner, and he thinks it's pretty close. I forget exactly what he said, but he basically was like, yeah, we haven't seen the full power of John Stewart. And then with Kyle, we also know that he actually is holding back his White Lantern power, so a little bit interesting there, but I think the White Lantern power is also connected to the Source. That is also, in fact, it's the life equation, which can be found in the Source. So very interesting to see the Lords of Order. Definitely got a lot of respect in Justice League Dark. That was probably the last time that we saw them, be treated as this uber powerful force. But I'm going to be honest, I could see John Stewart winning that. I would probably put more money on John Stewart right now, on paper, getting the W already. As John Stewart himself, just as he typically is as a Green Lantern, he's an extremely powerful heavy hitter among the Justice League. But now he's basically more powerful than ever before, and is comparable to a White Lantern, who are they're like on new god level in terms of what they can affect. So I'd probably give it to John Stewart at this point, especially because we have not seen his full power lately. So I'd give it to him. And then Lobo versus Supergirl. I think Supergirl wins that pretty easily. I'm going here from left to right. Supergirl should win. I mean, matter of fact, just saying it like it is, she has a movie coming up. Lobo's going to be in that as well, but I think Lobo is just too jokey of a character to get the actual W, especially considering this tournament, as far as we have been, as far as what's been said by the writer, they are going to be going all out. So I really don't see a world where Supergirl loses that fight. Big Barda versus Power Girl. Interesting. I mean, I think historically, and later on, some of these other covers might allude to this as well, but historically, Power Girl has been more of a Wonder Woman tier fighter, especially in Post-Crisis. Supergirl has also fought Wonder Woman, but Wonder Woman, a lot of these times, especially against Supergirl was she'd been possessed or infected by the Batman Who Laughs, and so she was sort of an evil version of herself, and Wonder Woman was fighting her. They were punching each other around a bit, but Wonder Woman definitely wanted to get through to her as opposed to, really throttle her. But Power Girl could fight an all-out Wonder Woman in Post-Crisis, but lately she hasn't been very impressive. So, however, recently Barda in DC All In, the current Birds of Prey book, is just definitively in a separate tier below Wonder Woman. So it kind of comes down to however you guesstimate that is Power Girl per being sort of historically interpreted as a Wonder Woman tier character going to help her out. The Batman Who Laughed, the infected, it did amp them. It at least made them more so, their merciless selves, that, those characters who would not be holding back Supergirl. So they're definitely amped in that sense. But Donna Troy, for instance, got the ability to fly, probably made her stronger. Blue Beetle Batman, I think, said, is more powerful than ever while infected. But yeah, so I would probably give it to Power Girl. I'd put my money on Power Girl. I think Big Barda is just sheerly, not in that Wonder Woman caliber, whereas Power Girl has been that, at least in the past. Then yes, that is Damian fighting Aquaman. Damian, he's a very confident character, braggadocious. Of course, all the Bat family, as I described them, there's always the capacity that they have a plan worked out for whoever they're fighting. I think all of them are capable of that to some extent. Damian, for instance, Damian's like, I could beat Superman. I could just summon some black magic, do whatever I need to do there. But obviously, pure hand-to-hand, Damian's losing that fight, so it just comes down to that kind of X factor that the Bat family have. But I 100% could also see this going down in a jokey manner. I could 100% see Damian just pulling something out of his back pocket and embarrassing Aquaman. I just could see that. And then Zatanna versus Black Canary. I think, honestly, in terms of metahuman abilities, it's not close. I don't see Zatanna losing this. I think at any point, Zatanna could just make Black Canary's mouth disappear, or shoot anything, really. Shoot a fireball at her, trap her in a hat. I think there's really any number of ways that Zatanna is winning that I don't really see for Black Canary. I do think she has a lot of power behind her Canary Cry at full force. She definitely has some good feats with that. She was able to bust apart an Amazo, who at that point had all the powers of the Justice League. Very impressive with her Canary Cry. But I think Zatanna is just way too versatile of a character to lose that fight. And then kind of going back to the top of the page, you have Dr. Light versus Hawkman. Now, recently, Dr. Light, I believe it was after Dark Crisis, got a super big, multiverse, empowered amp. So if they stick with that, I don't really see her losing. She just seemed to kind of ascend to, God status by Dark Crisis, whereas Hawkman is just sort of typically where he's always been at. So no, I think Dr. Light is winning that, should win that, unless maybe they emphasize the power of Nth Metal, which, as well as this sort of divine multiversal super metal that their mace is made out of, the Hawkman weapons are made out of. On the flip side there, Plastic Man versus Hawk Woman or Hawk Girl. I don't see Plastic Man winning that. He's sort of just a goofy character. I totally see him getting smashed once in the face with the mace and then just dipping. Booster Gold versus Blue Beetle. Booster Gold is a pretty versatile character. He's pretty powerful. He infamously, a lot of people in the power scaling, circles in the sphere talk about how his shields, his sort of energy shields, have never been broken. They've taken some damage for some very impressive characters. I'm pretty sure Doomsday in I'm going to answer some of these questions before I go on to the next image. I'll scroll back up and look at the chat. So I don't know. I mean, I think this fight, the fact that both of them aren't holding back, it's kind of a toss-up because typically, you know, Blue Beetle, any version of Blue Beetle and Booster Gold are very close. So really, I'm not sure. I think it'll pull out the heartstrings if they have to fight each other all out. I'm not gonna lie, this is gonna be pretty brutal to watch. But you know, these two, they're not brutal characters. I mean, Blue Beetle, maybe you could say, might have an edge because the Scarab is kind of depicted often as heartless and calculated. So if it's merciless and Jaime gives into the Beetle totally, then it might come down to that. That might give him the edge. If I had to bet, I would say that would do it for him. Somebody mentioned Starfire and Green Arrow. Green Arrow, you know, listen, he's got some Kirby crackle on that arrow there, so it could be doing some dirty work. Green Arrow, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I think on paper, honestly, it's like, do you think Batman or Nightwing could beat Starfire under any capacity? It's like, you probably would think of that. You probably could see that happen. And I think Green Arrow is definitely within that same caliber as Batman, as Nightwing, as those characters. I think he could definitely pull out some crazy, looks like here, like I said, Jack Kirby Crackle arrow. So who knows? But I don't know. Would I put my money? I would say maybe. I would say Green Arrow is the underdog that I'd probably put money on. Status here, don't doubt Ollie. Yeah, I kind of agree, actually. I probably would put that towards Queen, honestly. And then let's see here. We have I believe, I don't know that Green Lantern too well, but she's fighting the beam goes up to Orion. New God type character, I probably would give it to him. Orion is pretty powerful. Was able to trade blows with Superman in post-crisis. Son of Darkseid, I'd probably give it to him. Looks like he is shattering your shield. It is covers. I'm not going to scale the covers per se, but I would give it to a New God over a Green Lantern who's, you know, it is what it is. She's not Hal, John, or Kyle, so, you know, it is what it is. Speaking of that, Guy Gardner getting clobbered by Mary Marvel. Now, Guy Gardner, I don't see him getting a dub. I just don't see it. I think he's going to flirt with Mary Marvel. If this fight happens, I think the way I would maybe see it going down is he try to flirt with her, say something misogynist, and then just get knocked out, because that's just who Guy Gardner is, and we love him for it. I'm trying to see what's going on with Mr. Terrific there. I think maybe if you track it, maybe it looks like Swamp Thing is attacking him. I'd give it to Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing is an incredibly overpowered character. He's the embodiment of all plant life throughout every reality, which you might think plants are kind of lame, but he does it well. Swamp Thing is very strong. Mr. Terrific is less so acknowledged as like a super powerful new god or, you know, Kirby Fourth World character. He's obviously more so renowned for his escape artistry, so I'm not sure how well that's going to serve him in a tournament setting. So I would give that to Swamp Thing. And then now just kind of darting my eyes around here because it's kind of all over the place at this point. We have Firestorm versus Captain Atom. Now that is a very cool fight. Firestorm, the nuclear man, I believe he's been deemed at certain points in his history. But he can basically manipulate molecules, manipulate the elements, not so much as Metamorpho, because he can manipulate elements that are within his body and make interesting combinations to interesting effects. But Firestorm is very powerful in that just sort of anywhere, and the stagnant, you know, energy molecules, elements around him, he can take advantage of that. Whereas Captain Atom is someone who, more so in a rudimentary sense, can similarly use radiation-based powers to fly around to shoot radiation beams, etc. Dr. Manhattan was based off of Captain Atom, to give you a clue of how powerful maybe he could be. But as it stands now, Firestorm is less of a jobber, is less depicted as a jobber compared to Captain Atom. Captain Atom is mostly getting his ass kicked a lot of the time. He's getting his suit, his containment suit, which is what his body technically is. He gets that ruptured, he explodes, he's cooked. So I don't know. I'd probably give this to Firestorm, honestly. And then we have, I believe that's Connor Kent Superboy. I think that's Connor Kent Superboy punching out the Superman of China. Fishnet fight. That is, yeah, I noticed that while looking at the image. It's the two most popular Fishnet characters there. But I don't know. Superboy is an interesting character. I think if he locks in, he's definitely top tier. A lot of people maybe don't remember, but he gave Superboy Prime the hands. He 1v1'd him. And, you know, I think in their initial fight, it was a good fight, but Superboy died. And then I think they had a rematch, and it was pretty even pitched, while the Teen Titans pitched in as well. Superboy was also, you know, when Superboy Prime showed up again around Death Metal, Superboy was confident. He was like, I'll kick your ass if you try something, if you step out of line. Superman of China he just doesn't have it like that. He's never had a cool moment, never had a good feat, really. So Superman versus Captain Marvel. I will call him Captain Marvel forever, but some people like to call him Shazam. No, Captain Marvel versus Superman is an all-time classic fight. Of course, JLU. As a kid, there were few fights of that caliber, but of course, you know, Hulk versus the Thing, Thor versus Hulk, Wolverine versus Hulk, and then Superman versus Captain Marvel was definitely also in that same tier as, like, these guys could really cut loose and go the distance. So that'll be exciting. We know this is a Superman-centered event. I think most people are betting on him winning or getting to the end and then maybe forfeiting. But I personally don't see Captain Marvel winning. He does have some good feats lately. Him and Black Adam beat Superboy Prime. Funny that Prime is the benchmark for a lot of these characters. But yeah, no, him and Black Adam beat Superboy Prime together, which is a good feat. Superboy Prime is very powerful. He could basically solo entire squads of Teen Titans. It took like the JSA, JLA, Titans all jumped him. Superboy Prime was still in there. He fought off dozens and dozens of Green Lanterns. He is an exceptionally strong character. It took basically, I mean, really, if you think about it, if you include Superboy in that, it took like 3 Supermen to even just temporarily imprison Superboy Prime, and Earth 2 Superman, the Golden Age Superman, died in the process. So that is a very impressive feat for Captain Marvel. But he also has some L's. Recently, Yara Flor, who is the Brazilian Wonder Woman that they created for 5G / Future State, that they then, you know, incorporated into the main present day continuity. She had to save Captain Marvel from a Cerberus type monster. So kind of an L there. Martian Manhunter versus Wonder Woman and Donna Troy. Very bizarre. He's the only character that's getting actively 2v1'd on this cover here, but Martian Manhunter is one of those characters that they talk about him. They say, oh, he's equal to Superman. He's just as powerful. But he doesn't really have the feats to ever show it. He never really locks in. He says it. It said a lot about him. But honestly, if it's Donna, I think either Donna Troy or Wonder Woman could fold Martian Manhunter. I think Manhunter just does not have good feats compared to those other two, and Donna Troy is a rival to Wonder Woman, especially by Rebirth. They just rival each other. But I mean, if this fight goes down the way that it's depicted, I don't see him making it out conscious. I think Wonder Woman and Donna Troy would absolutely stomp Martian Manhunter into the dirt. And then close by, we have Black Lightning versus Wally West. I don't think Wally West loses to 90% of these characters. I think he's absolutely in the top of characters on this cover. I think Wally West at this point could beat Superman if push came to shove. So no, I think Wally would throw Black Lightning at a wall in a million times the speed of light and break every bone in his body if it came down to it, this is truly a merciless fight. And then Second to last here, it looks like Tim Drake Robin versus Monkey King. Now again, also Detective Chimp looks like he's somewhere around there. I'm not sure who's going to be fighting. Maybe the Monkey King because they're both primates, but Tim Drake looks like he's in there. But yeah, so Tim Drake versus Monkey King. Same sort of quality with the rest of the Bat family. They could pull something out. They could have a contingency plan. They could use any number of plans they've devised for characters much more powerful than Monkey King. Monkey King, or Monkey Prince rather. Monkey Prince isn't particularly strong at this point. He does have a Super Saiyan form, and he's obviously kind of a Goku analog, or more accurate to say, he is knowingly a adaptation of the inspiration for Goku. But they know he's got a Super Saiyan form. He's got Nimbus. They know what they're doing. So I would like to see him fight Superman. I want to see Goku versus Superman in this tournament. Get as close as possible. I think that would be really cool. But I mean, pure fisticuffs. Tim Drake's losing. Detective Chimp, I'm not sure what the hell he's gonna do. And then Batman versus Nightwing. Y'all already know this shouldn't be close. Nightwing has this in the bag, but more likely, we know that Night Fight is going to be concurrent with this event, and it's going to be Batman fighting alternate future versions of the Robins, each from different timelines, who have all respectively become Batman. Batman looks like he's wearing power armor for that. Who knows what's going to happen? As far as like, are they going to be amped? Are they going to be nerfed? As far as this tournament, we know, especially in the case of Superman, he is, and all of them are able to bring in an item to facilitate their victory or boost their chances. And Superman is having brass knuckles with miniature suns infused in them. So obviously, in that instance, Superman is going to be more powerful than ever, assuming they don't get, hurt before the tournament starts or something, in which case it would be really hard to say. But no, I absolutely think Nightwing is going to win this, and has won this, and will win this again. It just is what it is. But I'm going to go ahead and look through some of the comments. And if you guys want to know any particular matches just across all of fiction, who do you think would win, or ask who I think would win, the little as $2, I'll give you an answer, but the more money, the more concrete of an answer you're going to get, more detailed answer you're going to get. And if you just want to support the channel, feel free to donate. Green Lantern plus Superman. Want Flash, Green Lantern, and Superman to win. Those are good picks. Supergirl fighting Lobo. Yeah, I think that's already written in the stars. Rooting for Barda. Barda's cool. I could see that. I can see Aquaman playing around and Damian does some crazy shit. Yeah, like, I think it's interesting because I think both of those characters are prone to being underestimated. It's kind of an interesting matchup. Is that Raven behind Martian Manhunter? No, I think that is his cape. I think so. Yeah, I think that's just his cape. You can't really see Raven. No, yeah, it's just his cape. Dr. Light's ex-wife, right? I'm not too privy on the second Dr. Light and the relation to the first. A Trinity-themed victory. Well, we know some people are going to get farther along than you think. Scott Snyder, who's writing that, made that comment. So I think there's going to be some interesting upsets and some underdogs. Starfire fighting Green Arrow. True. Booster. Yeah, Booster could use his tech really well. Ollie shot Parallax. It's true. Black Lightning should have gone against Static. Static right now is not in the DC universe. It's very sad. He's sort of being quarantined off into the Milestone universe again. Connor's relative to Clark. It depends who you ask. I mean, I think Superman's stronger than ever right now, like multiple times over. He definitely would not struggle with Prime the way he did in the past. Makes me feel like he will make it to the last round. We don't know if Prime's in the tournament. Yet to be seen. They probably don't want to spoil what happens in Action Comics or whatever. I forget if it's Action Comics or Superman, but they don't want to spoil whatever happens to Prime here soon. Manhunter's the Justice League punching bag. His plot armor there. I don't want to hear about it. Night Fight is part of the event or something separate. It's a tie-in. So it's a different book, but it's a tie-in. It's tying into the events of the tournament. quite the same as the one from Titans of Tomorrow. I feel like in the case of Damian and Tim, they probably will use those pre-established variants. They're going to use Batman in Bethlehem. They're going to use Titans Tomorrow. For Jason and Dick Grayson, it'll be yet to be seen. I'm predicting, because we know with the Legion of Superheroes right now, Darkseid has corrupted the future. I think there's going to be corrupted versions of these future Robins, and it'll basically be impossible to scale this event. But who knows? DC Knockout. It's called DC KO. Are all these characters in the tournament? As far as we know, will there be a DC villain version of this tournament? Well, I'll talk about that in a second because it's yet to be seen. So this is the image I used for my thumbnail. This is another cover for the event, and could give us some insight into the way that this is going to work. Is, as far as we can tell, at some point it's going to break down to, if I remember correctly, 32 brackets. But I'll talk about that as well a little bit later. But if this is indicative of the bracket setup that it eventually devolves into, Supergirl versus Gorilla Grodd. Gorilla Grodd recently had Darkseid powers, but no, I think right now, if it's standard Gorilla Grodd, Supergirl, what's interesting is the Justice League have power levels. They actually do have power levels recently. At least a lot of the members, not all of them, but a lot of them have official power levels revealed. And so it seems like this era of DC is very power scaling centric. They are tossing us bones left and right. But for instance, if you look at the Flash, Wally West card, his power level is an 86, and this seems to be out of 100. Supergirl's at a 95. Hal Jordan is at an 80, so Hal Jordan. John Stewart's at a 90. So again, Supergirl's currently right now her power level, whatever that means, until they give us specifics. It's hard to know for certain what that details. But on paper, she's stronger than John Stewart, Hal Jordan, Wally West. And then she was, if I believe, equal to Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman also had a 95. Yep, Wonder Woman has a 95. Superman has a 100. So she's up there. I don't see how she's losing to Grodd. And then Damian versus Dr. Fate. These two have a bit of a history in the Batman versus Robin event. Damian and sort of the mystical demonic villain of that arc had a lot of interplay with the magic heroes. They had siphoned all of the magical heroes of the DC universe, all of their power, into Dr. Fate's helmet. And the villain was hoping to channel that. So some history there, but it depends really, again, on what is Damian going to bring into the tournament. If the Batman characters can, pick one thing to help them really prep against somebody, or, someone in particular, what's Damian going to possibly use to help him beat Dr. Fate? It's yet to be seen. So I gotta say Dr. Fate. And then Batman versus Power Girl. I mean, I don't think anybody expects Batman to lose against Power Girl. I don't know. I mean, everything I can say for Dr. Fate and Damian is the same I would say for Batman and Power Girl, but at a certain point, you just have to acknowledge face the facts. Power Girl, I think they could plausibly write a scenario where she wins, because Tom King established that every time Batman's ever beaten Superman, it's been because Batman doesn't want to hurt or Superman doesn't want to hurt Bruce's ego. So he basically throws that fight. But if Power Girl is, like I've been saying, and it has been shown to be historically a Wonder Woman tier character, then I don't see how Batman could win that. If Superman and Wonder Woman, those two are very competitive, very close. Some people think Wonder Woman would even beat Superman. If Power Girl is anywhere in that conversation, and it's a merciless fight as it's been described by the writers, then I think it might be wraps for Batman, at least on paper. But I think we all know in principle it's not happening. And then Black Manta versus Plastic Man. I just don't know. I've never seen anything impressive from Plastic Man. At least Aquaman sometimes has, they're pushing him. He has an agenda to be kind of like, let's up his stocks. Let's stop making him such a joke. So Manta has received some of that by proxy. So I just don't see it. Isn't Power Girl literally Supergirl? Power Girl is an alternate universe, older version of Supergirl. But yeah. Speaking of Power Girl, this is another cover talking again sort of about what I've been getting at of as Wonder Woman and Power Girl being on the same tier. I'm not going to dwell on this image too much, but if these two fight, it would be interesting because they haven't fought in a long time. I'd probably just guess Wonder Woman, though. And then this is another cover that's very detailed. And someone asked about villains earlier. Is going to be a villain tournament. I'm not convinced that villains just won't be in this tournament. This is what I believe is to be the main cover of the book, the sort of standard cover. But as you see, we have Giganta, we have Starro, we have Cheetah there, it looks like, if I'm correct. Professor Pig, Harley Quinn, probably not a villain at this point, but that might be El Diablo there, fighting Batman. Silver Banshee, Prometheus. Lobo, obviously. Black Hand's there. I think that's Despero. Not sure who that is. But these are a lot of villains. So villains could very well be participating in this tournament. And it'll be interesting to see how far they get. Is it going to be the case where the heroes all beat the villains and then maybe they're like fatigued or whatever, from Lex Luthor's also there? Are they going to fight the villains? Is it going to be like this? Because if it's like this image, if this is how, let's say, the tournament begins, right? This is promoting the first issue. If the tournament begins and it's like thousands of characters, it's every hero and every villain, they're all just fighting in a big Fortnite battle royale, everyone punching everyone else, then they're going to be tired for the rest of the tournament. The rest of the tournament is not going to pick, or they're not going to be at their full power. They'll have just fought a crazy tournament against all their villains. So it's interesting, but to analyze the fights that are happening here, I mean, I think this is pretty accurate. This whole thing with Giganta and Starro. Starro can possess basically anybody at this point. Very powerful character. And then specific fights, Damian versus Harley. Damian actually lost that. He actually did fight Harley in her book in one of the issues that was concurrent to the Lazarus tournament that Damian was participating in. And so he lost. So I'd probably bet on Harley, to be honest. Harley is more impressive than people give her credit for. She has a lot of good feats and training going for her. She trained with the Amazon. She was handpicked to train under Hippolyta around 1 year later. I don't know what to make of this. Plastic Man looks like he's getting involved in whatever the fuck's going on here. Professor Pig versus Captain Atom. Lol. I mean, Captain Atom wins that. Lex versus Green Arrow. Probably give it to Lex. His power suit can combat Superman really at any level. I would probably say that's a Lex Luthor dub. Cheetah versus Vixen is interesting. Wonder Woman tier character, animalistic versus, again, a female heroine who channels the powers of the animals. I'd probably give it to Cheetah, though. Wonder Woman's a top tier, and Cheetah's, can compete with that. So Zatanna versus Lobo. Zatanna, I think, is just too many hacks, too many abilities. Could teleport Lobo to anywhere. Could turn him into a bunch of shit. Could Thanos Infinity Gauntlet turn him into bubbles? Honestly, if she wanted to. I mean, she's pretty crazy. I don't see Animal Man. Did somebody notice Animal Man? I haven't seen him yet. Prometheus. Not sure what's going on there. He's just kind of cowering, I guess. But Silver Banshee versus Batwoman. Again, I could say this for all the Batman characters. Maybe she's got some piece of tech that could affect Banshee, but pound for pound, she should lose that. I don't know who Black Lightning is about to blast. Maybe Luthor? Not sure. Batman versus El Diablo. Should be Batman. Let's be for real. It's like a standard pyrokinetic kind of guy. Batman's dealt with that dozens of times. Wonder Woman versus Black Hand. Black Hand's not like a powerhouse character. He's not like, he doesn't beat the hell out of people. He is like a fundamental kind of elemental type character. You know, it kind of personifies death and has a Black Lantern ring, but he's never really been that strong. So I definitely think compared to someone like Wonder Woman. And then, yeah, it looks like Flash is running all around. I don't know why Flash wouldn't, like, as soon as the tournament starts. It's kind of like same thing with Dragon Ball, right? Like, why doesn't Goku, why does there Universe 6 or whatever, why don't they just wipe out the 90% of the fodder and then fight after that? But that's what I'd say for Flash here for Wally. I mean, if Cyborg wants to help beat up Black Hand, I could see it. Cyborg is always upgrading, always getting more powerful. During the Snyder Justice League run, he took out John Stewart, Ultraviolet John Stewart, who I believe was fighting Wonder Woman and Barry to, you know, a draw at the very least. He was doing a good job against them. Whoever the hell these two are supposed to be, I don't know. I don't know if that's supposed to be like Beast Boys transform into something, or fighting Despero. No clue, man. No clue. So, and then this is the bracket itself that was revealed. Now, obviously, not much of it's been revealed. We don't see every character, but we can sort of prognosticate, assuming these people that have been named go into these final brackets. So in this instance, right, let's assume, because just based on all we only know that these characters' names. If Captain Atom beats all of his competition, he would eventually, if Guy Gardner beats all of his competition, Captain Atom and Guy Gardner would eventually fight. So we can guess, you know, how that would go if both of these characters get all the way to the end of their quadrant, I could say. And Captain Atom versus Guy Gardner is interesting because they both kind of are jobbers. They historically both lose a lot. So yeah, that'll be funny. It'll be interesting. I'm not sure if the writers are aware of that. Again, I feel like the writers, because you know, I kind of have to judge it based on feats, but then also, you know, they're about to write this. I would probably say Guy Gardner, people are more aware of him being a loser than Captain Atom. I think that's probably just a meme at this point. Like, it's just something that fans observe. But yeah, no, I would probably say, Captain Atom should win that. And then Aquaman versus Supergirl. Supergirl, again, the power levels, we already have them for those two characters. Supergirl, like I said, is at a 95 out of 100, and Aquaman is at a 70. So, I mean, Aquaman could maybe bring some like Atlantean magical super weapons, some super trident or something. And maybe take advantage of the Kryptonian sort of inherent lack of invulnerability, their vulnerability to magic. That would probably be his best win condition, but power for power, as far as we know, Supergirl should have that. And then Wonder Woman versus Lobo. I mean, Wonder Woman should stomp. Swamp Thing versus Cyborg. That's an interesting fight. I don't think it's one that you would expect. I don't think... I mean, it's interesting, right? It's like multiverse tech, because Cyborg is like, you know, basically an embodiment of a boom tube, and then he's connected himself throughout the multiverse. So he's sort of like, you know, if there was like the silver, which was the concept of technology across the multiverse, Cyborg would be kind of the embodiment for that. So it's like tech versus plant life. It's organic matter versus inorganic artificial intelligence, kind of, in a way. Obviously Cyborg is half man, but all that said, I would probably put my money on Swamp Thing. It's a tough one. This is a toss-up for me, honestly. This is a toss-up because Cyborg is very strong and has some good feats. I've already detailed a few of them, and is, again, constantly getting stronger and stronger. So I don't know. It's a toss-up. That one might be a 50-50. I might have to think about that. And then Red Hood and Zatanna. I mean, I've been talking about Zatanna a lot. I've been putting some respect on her name for a lot of this. I mean, Red Hood sucks. It is what it is. I don't know. I mean, if he steals from the Batcave the anti-Zatanna button that Batman's been working on, then sure. Interestingly, Scott Snyder said Red Hood does go crazy in the tournament. He does pull some crazy stuff off. So I am kind of excited for that. I'm curious to see what Red Hood is going to do in this tournament. You know, maybe we'll see the All Blades return. Maybe he is prepped out. Maybe the fact that he typically, you know, doesn't hold back will give him kind of an advantage compared to these other heroes that aren't used to it. That's something I could see. But, you know, who knows? I just have to go with Zatanna, though. I just don't see what Red Hood could feasibly do to Zatanna. I don't know. I personally don't know. I'm not a huge, you know, Zatanna's cool. I'm not like a Zatanna super fan, but I don't see how they lose that. And then I guess to break it down even further, I would say Captain Atom versus Aquaman. I'd probably go Captain Atom again, but I could easily see Aquaman pulling it through, especially if he has like a super weapon. And then it comes down to Captain Atom versus Supergirl, and I think Supergirl would win, as far as it's been revealed, would win this half of the bracket. And then out of all of these characters here, I think it would be Wonder Woman. I think Wonder Woman would beat Lobo, like I said. I think Wonder Woman would beat either Swamp Thing or Cyborg. I can't really decide who would win that. And then Wonder Woman versus Zatanna. Wonder Woman has a lot of experience with magic. She was on a team with Zatanna. She knows what Zatanna's capable of, more or less. She is probably the ultimate warrior in DC as far as combat abilities. You know, she is she's experienced war. She is prone to not holding back. She's one of the Trinity that will just take out, you know, the enemy and not feel mercy. And is just extremely physically adept, physically powerful. I keep saying that word a lot, but is what it is. So I think as it stands now, based on who would come down to the final fight, as far as who's been revealed, I would guess Supergirl and Wonder Woman would be the last two standing here. And then between the two of those, funnily enough, they do have equal power levels on their Justice League Unlimited cards, the official cards that were revealed for the current continuity main canon Justice League Unlimited book. So that's a total toss-up at this point. Historically, you'd want to give it to Wonder Woman. She's part of the Trinity. She is more experienced than Supergirl. She's typically depicted as a better hand-to-hand or sort of martial fighter, if you consider her sword and shield. Supergirl doesn't really fight like that. So based on all these characters, I would guess Wonder Woman would win the tournament, as what's been revealed from these brackets. But overall, I would probably guess Superman would take the dub at the end of the day, based on a few pieces of evidence, a few things that have already been suggested by the writers, by Scott Snyder, Joshua Williamson. So that's totally what I'm expecting at this point. I'm totally expecting a Superman W. But there are probably going to be some interesting upsets. I mean, it'll be interesting to see. Scott Snyder, like I said, alluded to Red Hood being very impressive in the tournament, doing some crazy stuff, whatever it is. So people will get farther along than you think. I think Power Girl might get farther along than we think. I think she might, you know, she might put some people in the dirt face first. So that'll be interesting to see. And of course, you know, I'm repping the Titans. I want to see characters like Nightwing and Wally West. I can always consider him a Titan. So we'll see. Yeah, let's get towards the donations. Thank you, Playboy, for the $2 donation. Let's start to see some of those now that I've covered that. Any power scaling questions? Any questions at all, really, if you guys just want my opinion on something upcoming or any debate you guys have recently been thinking about. But thank you, Playboy, for $2. Is Mr. Mixie Solo all of anime? Well, I haven't seen all of anime. I can't say for certain, but based on what I have seen, Things like Dragon Ball, I'm aware of Naruto's power scaling, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, all the big ones, One Piece, Bleach. I would say, One Piece. I would say Mr. Mixie would defeat most of anime. Mr. Mixie is an incredible, powerful character. For $2, that's what I'll say. Otherwise, I feel like I've talked about Mr. Mixie a bit. I've definitely talked about the Fifth Dimension in certain videos, so you can check those out. Probably the ranking DC villains from weakest to strongest. That's probably a good place to start. So, but no, yeah, Mr. Mixie would absolutely put a lot of anime in their place, for sure. But any other donations you guys want to put out there, would appreciate it. And then channel members, I just addressed their questions because you guys are constantly and consistently supporting the channel. So General Shepard, I did. Pretty exciting stuff, right? So James Gunn, someone was like, yo, I'm new to DC, what should I read? And this is what James Gunn, this was the other day, what he recommended. So he recommended Top 10 Compendium. Not sure what that is. Wonder Woman Historia, which is a Wonder Woman book. Strange Adventures by Tom King. That's the what's his name? Adam Strange. The Authority, Watchmen, Vertigo's Promethean Book 1, Mr. Miracle, the Deluxe Edition, Superman Birthright, and very excitingly for this channel, fans of my channel, Nightwing. He suggested Nightwing. James Gunn suggested Nightwing. New fans of DC should start reading Nightwing. Now, he did say Tom Taylor's Nightwing. A lot of people in the comments were maligning that. I want to do a video on Tom Taylor's Nightwing. He also said New Frontier would be something he should have added as well to that. But you know, that's exciting. He's like, hey, if you're a new DC fan, read Nightwing. It's exciting stuff. So, I mean, we're getting Nightwing in the DC universe. James Gunn has talked about Bloodhaven. He's given breadcrumbs towards that in multiple projects. I do think he likes Nightwing. I think he enjoys Tom Taylor's book. I mean, we know that for a fact. He's mentioned that multiple times. He's mentioned that he really loves that book. So that is happening. Status, you can either donate or become a channel member. Any power scaling questions like that. But yeah, this tournament will be interesting. I need to remember, I think it's 32. I think it's going to come down to 32 characters. I could count every space in that bracket image, but I'm not going to. I don't know any Kangen scaling. I don't know. Never seen that. Never actually seen that. But yeah, who are you guys most excited to see in the tournament? Which fight? Like, even just hypothetical fight. What do you guys most want to see? Definitively answered who would win. Words of stadiums like Mixie and Batmite. It's in if you read the Rebirth Superman story arc, Superman Reborn. He describes how he's the same across all mediums. Werewolf, thank you for the $1.99. He put you on screen. If you guys want like super detailed answers, that's around 20, or become a channel member for like $1 a month. Tiger versus brown bear. Honestly, man, it depends on the tigers. But I don't know. I might be more partial to tigers. Those things do hunt and kill bears in certain territories where they cross over. So I'd probably give it to a tiger. Usually say DC martial artist skill higher than Marvel. So I ask at which tier do I have Iron Fist in DC? Keep talking. I feel bad for Iron Fist, man. I think Danny Rand is gone. I think he's a total goner. I think people don't. He's just done. He's done, man. But I think if you watch my Daredevil versus Nightwing video, that'll become clear. Or rewatch that, because I think Iron Fist is in a similar caliber as Daredevil. There's a statement that says they're equal in martial arts. But that'll give you an impression of what I think about their skills. Sometimes I shit on Marvel with like just for the meme, but that video is like my constructive, genuine thoughts. Is all my videos. Raven versus Zatanna. That would be cool. I do want to see Raven. I do want to see Raven get at it. Like No Mercy Raven should be really powerful. Should dominate a lot of characters. Marvel street tiers are stronger. I don't know. I don't know about that. The problem is JLA Avengers kind of throws a wrench into that when you think about it. But who knows what'll be the case of these new crossovers if they're going to try to make them canon and just retcon JLA Avengers out of continuity. Who knows? Who knows? I figure they'll probably all be non-canon, and then if they sell really well, maybe they'll do like an event. Maybe. Yeah, Raven versus Zatanna. Zatanna's strong, but I don't know if she's at like that Trigon tier that Raven, can be when she really lets loose and embraces her dark side and just tries to decimate everyone. I don't think Zatanna necessarily is like that built different. If Marvel did a similar tournament, which characters do you want to see? If Marvel had... There's Marvel KO. I feel like Marvel characters fight a lot more than DC characters. Now that I think about it, like I feel like we're constantly getting Hulk versus Thor, or basically just Hulk fighting people. I feel like we get a lot of him fighting other heroes, whereas with Marvel, not so much. Like Superman's not constantly fighting everybody. So I don't know. I think Marvel has basically done a good job of that. I'd want to see maybe like Silver Surfer versus Thor all out. I don't feel like they fought very often. Then I'm not sure of like what's a good Spider-Man fight, because Spider-Man's in a weird tier where he should be stronger than all those people. He should be stronger than like Cap and those guys, but he's obviously weaker than like Thor or Hulk. So yeah, I don't know. That reminds me, I want to thank you guys again. The Nightwing video, the Batman versus Nightwing video, is still getting good views. I think last I checked, it was at 107,000 views. Yeah, and it's really close to 108,000 views. So it's probably gonna get to like 110, 111. That'd be really cool, right? Like 111. That'd be cool if it was 111,111. That would be cool. That's really exciting. I'm a big fan of that video. Is Poison Ivy versus Swamp Thing not close? I don't know. Like, Poison Ivy's just not... I mean, she's a Batman villain. She's not built like Swamp Thing. Like, maybe in certain instances she's gotten big power boost, but I would always bet on Swamp Thing. Spider-Man versus Colossus. That could be kind of cool.
Snake, are you okay?
What's up, Dr. Touch? Dr. Delicate Touch.
In Paradise Lost, Milton
What up, Doc?
solitude sometimes is best society, and short retirement urges sweet return. Is that why you came back, Snake? You got
Nice seeing
tired
ya.
of short retirement and
Nice seeing all you guys. Always nice to see support from the fans. For anyone wondering as well, all of my streams, I unlist all of them, and then they can be rewatched at any point, however, in the Discord server. So there's a link in the description to become a channel member, and for $1 a month, you can support the channel, and you get to rewatch all of the streams. You get a backlog of some exclusive videos of mine, as well as a community where we talk about all the stuff I talk about on my channel every day. For anyone wondering. And I think the next movie we're going to watch a movie in there. I think the next one we're going to watch is Return of the Joker. We're going to check that out. Which does the hero turn villain concept better, the Maker or the Batman Who Laughs? Yeah, I don't know. Probably the Maker. It was interesting that, I mean, the Ultimate Universe is like nobody was reading it by then, so I think the writers could do creative things like that. They were able to take some risks. But I also think for whatever reason, Reed Richards kind of, his character gives a bit over to becoming evil because he is this hyper emotional, detached. He can be depicted as that, so I think it's like Reed Richards is closer to like a Lex Luthor villain, like on paper, than I think Batman is thematically closer. But I mean, they both have their merits. I understand the concept of Batman Who Laughed. For sure, like it's pretty clear what they were going with, and I think it's pretty warranted. I don't get so red-faced mad as some other people when they bring up the Batman Who Laughs. Is the Clayface movie part of the DCU? As far as you know, yes, it will be DCU. Unless something changes, it is a part of the Gunverse, as it were. But with that, now we've reached over an hour. So I'm going to thank everybody for popping in and listening to my my basically guesswork, my educated guesses about the upcoming DC tournament. And with that said, feel free to become a channel member to support the channel. I'll go back to editing my next big upload, and I will see you all next time.